comments, questions, I'm here. And I also just want to give a disclaimer. I am in my dorm, as you can very much tell, and I have 6 roommates, and it's very tight quarters. So if you hear any noises, that's them. But they know that I'm here, and so just that. But it can add a little bit of fun. So before we start, I just want to get a gauge of where you guys are at in high school, or kind of just where you are at in your journey, because scholarships can kind of be very dependent on where you are in your high school journey or in your college journey. So if you want to just drop in the chat what year you are, either in high school, college, anything like that, that would be super helpful just to get to know where you guys are at in the process. Nice, okay. Great. Okay, so we have a little bit of a range, but that's awesome. And that's great. Like a lot of freshmen and sophomores, this is great to start thinking about and knowing that our options. So before we jump into scholarships directly and really dive into that, I just want to give you a context of my story, who I am, how I leverage scholarships, and just who I am as a person. So these are some pictures of me to describe who I am. I am a senior at Boston College, graduating in 3 weeks, which is crazy. On the far right, this is my college. It is quite the castle. It's very nice. It's crazy. But it's my parents at Parents Week. They were very, very proud that I came here. I am from a big family. On the bottom, you can see this is my whole family. I'm the 3rd out of 4 kids. My brother-in-law is on the right. We are very tight-knit, very eclectic family, a little eccentric, but I love them, and they're all in Minnesota, and I miss them, but they're the best. When I got my license when I was 16, I developed a love for the outdoors and hiking. So this is me and my roommate. We summited Mount Chicora in New Hampshire, and I've been able to just do a lot of things outside, outdoors. So that's something fun about me. And then on the left, this is my nephew. I became an aunt during quarantine. He's 6 months old in this picture, but I interned for Target in the fall and the summer. And so this is my first day. And he was my little bit work from home buddy. So that is me as Anna Peterson, as the person. But this is kind of my path, specifically in high school and college, and being in computer science and being a college student. So as I said, I am the 3rd of 4 kids, big family, very involved in a lot of things, lots of sports going on, activities, so therefore lots of expenses. So that was something I remember right from just being like, even in elementary school and middle school, like being very aware of finances and knowing that I had to help pay for some of my dance classes or some of my volleyball camps and that kind of stuff. So from elementary and middle school, I was pretty aware already of finances and money and how my family had to make sacrifices for me to do the things that I wanted to do. But in high school, I was very involved, quite busy. I went to Rosemount High School, graduated in 2017, and I really enjoyed high school, did a lot of things that I just loved a lot. I did a lot of things that I was passionate about. I did DECA, if you know what that is, student council. I did cross country, Nordic skiing, track, a lot of involvement, but did things I was passionate about, which made going into college a lot better because I wasn't as burnt out. But I was burnt out because I applied to a lot of schools, which I'll talk about. But before I headed to Boston College, I enjoyed my last summer in Minnesota. Reveled in the being done with college applications. And then in the fall of 2017, I headed to Boston College in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. And I have loved it here. I'm now a senior through multiple switches and majors. I started in physics, then went to psychology, then was undecided. And then after swearing off computer science in high school, I took AP Computer Science and Advanced Computer Science. And I didn't like it. I thought I was really bad at it. There were people in my classes that did so much better than me and seemed to have the brain for it and the knack for it, and I was just not one of those people. Here I am, very passionate about computer science now, 4 years later, against all odds. My computer science teacher in high school thought it's so funny that I love it so much now. But I'm about to major in computer science after that little bit of the journey. And then, as I said, I'm graduating in 3 weeks. I am actually going to take a year off from computer science, even though I love it, and do a year of service in Denver, Colorado through AmeriCorps to take a little break, be able to learn some different things in life, learn different populations and different social justice issues. But I plan on doing computer science for the rest of my career. So that's kind of a mouthful, but that is just a little bit of context of who I am in the path that I've kind of been on, specifically in the past 4-ish years. So as I said, I applied to a lot of colleges. I applied to 17 colleges. A lot of them are very expensive, very time intensive in terms of applications. I wouldn't recommend this route of applying to colleges, but also like it's where I was at. I was very confused, didn't know what I wanted. So it was just nice to keep my options open. But already, as I said, finances were on the forefront of my mind and on my parents' mind especially. And so even in freshman and sophomore year of high school, we were kind of, and thank goodness my mom is amazing and was like super helpful in this process, but she kind of guided me and started me on the path of looking for scholarships and figuring out the path of how could I get the most money possible to make any school I wanted to go to a reality. And then also applied for financial aid, as I'll talk about, directly through Boston College, and that was a huge success. I would not be at the school if I didn't get heavy financial aid from my college. So that's a snapshot of kind of how I made Boston College a reality. And so, as I said, financial stress and burden can make thinking about the future much more stressful than exciting. I know when you like search colleges, you can just see the price tag right of them. And that's stressful. Seeing that it's like $70,000 or even $50,000, it's kind of crazy to think that that is a huge number and a big investment. And I know some people are really fortunate to have grandparents giving them scholarship money and putting away funds and savings, but not everyone is in that same position. So I think this can be helpful for people who are in both boats, of people who have financial burdens and stress and are going into college thinking, I have no idea if I can afford this college. I will have to go to a college where I can get a full ride. There's no way my parents or I can pay for this. And then there's also another boat where you're feeling pretty good about things. You feel financially stable, that you can afford the college, but you want to not take out any loans. And that's also a really cool part about scholarships, is that you can get money directly like deposited into your account to support for books and travel and all that kind of stuff. So I think wherever you are in the process or feeling about finances as you enter the next stage of your life, scholarships are a great resource. So I hope that this is helpful wherever you are in the process and however you're feeling about money and paying for college. So scholarships, I cannot emphasize enough. They're not free money, but they are very helpful. And so I just urge you to keep this on the forefront of your mind. They seem almost too good to be true because it is lots of money. But they're not too good to be true. Companies, foundations, nonprofits want to invest in people's futures, young people especially. So this is a really cool, almost too good to be true, but I'm here to tell you it's not. So let's jump in of how to get scholarships. Before I continue though, if there are any questions, just stop me and I can do that. Yes, I see there is a hand raised. Feel free to take yourself off mute and I can try to answer your question.
So how much money did 17, what do you call it?
Applications.
How much did that cost?
I'm trying to remember. I know a lot of them were free, just like a free portal application, are about $25. And I know that with one of the scholarships I got from junior to senior year, it paid for all of my application processes, which was really, really helpful. So I know it's also a luxury to be able to apply to as many schools as I want, because some of them cost a lot of money, but there are ways to get those fees waived for. So I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I'm probably glad I don't, because it was probably expensive. But there are ways to get that paid for and to get funded in that way, if that is helpful to answer. Okay, so let's jump into how can we go about getting these scholarships? Where do we find them? How do you apply for them? How do you get the money? That kind of stuff. So there are two main ways you can get money for college, or just kind of whatever endeavor you want to take on. It doesn't have to be college. There are a lot of scholarships for like going abroad or high school programs or that kind of stuff. So it's not just for college, but this is typically the route that scholarships take. So there's school financial aid, which I talked about a little bit, and I'll talk about kind of towards the end. But this is directly from your college. So when I applied to Boston College or the other schools that I applied to, they give you an acceptance or a rejection, and then with that acceptance, they will usually give you your financial aid package. And so this is, again, directly decided by Boston College or whatever university and college you are at and applied to. And this is calculated a lot of different ways, and schools do it different on a school-to-school basis. So there are two types, though, mainly. There's need-based financial aid. So this is calculated with factors like household income and, like family assets and equity and all of these like financial things of your family. Basically seeing of, okay, how much does your family and your parents or your guardians need to be able to get you to college? And so, main of this is like household income or amount of kids in college, that kind of stuff. And then also like extra circumstances that you can explain. And that's where I really use that to my advantage, because my dad had a health issue right then, so couldn't work. And so using that space to explain this extra circumstance really helped in the need-based to bump that number up to get grants. So there's that, and then there's also merit-based. So sometimes like really high universities don't do merit-based. I know Ivy Leagues don't do merit-based scholarships. Boston College also doesn't do merit-based, which is a little bit of a bummer. But these are awards given on academics and diversity and just a lot of other different categories where they'll grant you money. And basically they want you to come because they think you're cool and you're smart and all of these kind of things. So they will give you awards, grants, that kind of stuff. To make your tuition cheaper. And I know they do this at like University of Minnesota and a lot of other like state schools and just like more local colleges. So that is really something to tap into as well. Okay, so that's financial aid. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But what I want to focus on is these external scholarships. So not through your university, but through foundations, corporations, nonprofits, and government as well, these scholarships. So these are grants that are awarded for all types of categories. They can be because you're involved in band, because you have a certain like demographic. There's some just for women. There's some people for just people of like minority groups, that kind of stuff. And these are really, really good like pools of money to tap into. And so we're going to dive into these external scholarships because they, again, I cannot preach enough how wonderful they are. And also they often come in the form of direct like checks and money to your account. So to give you just a little bit of like kind of a snapshot of what it can look like to receive different scholarships, not from your university, but from external places, this is kind of a couple of the scholarships that I've received that have been really helpful for me. So I was in Venice last spring before the pandemic hit, sadly, in Italy, and then the rest of the world, obviously. But I got a study abroad scholarship directly through my university at Venice International, and this was a $2,000 like living stipend for just European living expenses. So this was directly into my bank account, $1,000 check. I just had to do write a couple articles, and yeah, that was not need-based, it was merit-based, based on why I wanted to do the program and all of that kind of stuff. So that was really helpful and made study abroad a reality for me. So it's my senior year. So this year I applied to a web development scholarship. It was one of those where you just like enter your name and whatever. And I submitted a website that I made prior. I never really believed in like the 3-minute ones where it's super easy to fill out and get a scholarship, but I won $1,000. And this is just a $1,000 check straight to my account. It was for college, but also you could just do anything with it. So that was really, really cool. And being able to like, these kind of big national contests and scholarship things that they're attainable. Someone has to win them, so why not you? And then as I kind of, going back a little bit to when I was in high school and the beginning of college, applying to scholarships, I got one through Masonic Homes Charities in Minnesota. And this was a $2,000 a year for 3 years directly to Boston College for my tuition. And then my senior year of high school, I'm sure a lot of other colleges do the same, or high schools do the same, of having a bunch of scholarships that you can apply for through your high school. And so a couple of them that I received was the 196 Warrior Fund, which was a $1,000 check, and the Kaylee Faye Memorial Scholarship, which was also $1,000, and then a couple more, I think. And these for me were checks, but then my parents used them from my account to pay for my tuition directly right at the beginning of my freshman year. So that's a good example of what boat you're in can kind of serve different purposes. For some people, they don't need help paying the tuition right up front. So these scholarships can go to books, to stuff for your dorms, for savings, all that kind of stuff for abroad. But then for some people who really, their parents need assistance, their guardians need help paying for college, this is a great way to kind of start that payment and that fund to support your education. So kind of how do you go about getting these scholarships? I've talked about there's many different kinds. They're great, they're wonderful, but how do you find scholarships and how can you successfully like win the scholarship? So I suggest creating a game plan. First, you need to begin your research. And one of my biggest tips is what you should do is create a Google Doc or a Word document, wherever, and create a table. So in the table, have this up on a split screen while you're researching. And so I will give you some great search tools on the next page. So hold on for that. But when you're researching scholarships or anything, have this Google Doc up where you can type in the name of the scholarship, a link to it, and then you can also do like what you need for it. So if you need essays, if you need a transcript, if you need financial information from your parents or guardians, anything like that. And then most importantly, the deadline. So this can be a great way to keep track of all of your stuff while you're researching it. So it doesn't mean you have to apply to it, or maybe you decide later on that you don't want it, but at least you have this kind of master list of all the scholarships that you could apply for and do. So you want to begin your research and take good notes, or just keep that kind of master list while you're going. And then second, you want to create a timeline and kind of narrow down once you have this big list. So write down the deadlines. And then from there, you can kind of go through and see, okay, I have this list of 10 scholarships and 20 scholarships. Which ones do I have the best chance at winning? And which ones should I really invest my time in? So I suggest that the local scholarships are going to be your best bet. So the ones that are through your district or through your high school, those are, you have by far the best chance of receiving those. So I would say invest your most time into that. And then you can go a little bit bigger. The state level ones, again, are a good place to start. And then also national ones are a little bit harder, but as I said, the big ones where you either don't have to submit essays or have like hundreds of thousands of people apply, go for it for sure. But I would say invest the bulk of your time in ones where you are one of few candidates, or that you can really kind of shine and work the best in that. And so again, not only write down your deadlines, but also I would say put it in a calendar. So what I do and what I've discovered even in schoolwork and that kind of stuff is I have created a calendar just for my due dates in Google Calendar. So at the top I have, I can show this a little bit later, but I'll say like Warrior 196 scholarship due, or in my senior year context, final paper due. And it's gray and it's in the date. So I know even when I'm checking my other things in my Google Calendar, I see, okay, I have 2 weeks for this. And then when I finish it, I make it green so that it's a nice little check. And then I also can just keep things organized, which is another way to even if you aren't having that master list open all the time, it's in a different place with deadlines so you don't miss it. Because that's the biggest hurdle of scholarships. It's not doing them or writing them down, but it's honestly just turning them in on time. So third, review and turn in. Get them in on time. I would suggest having someone read over your essays 5 days in advance if you have the time and someone is willing to read over your essay, which people are, teachers, counselors, even parents, guardians, friends, have them read over it. And that your essays especially, that's your time to shine. Pour out your story, pour out your heart, explain why this scholarship will help you achieve your dreams. That's what these foundations and companies want to hear. They want to hear how you're going to make the world a better place and how they are really investing in your future. So go off, really be able to write and convince them that this scholarship is going to good use. Okay, so this is a page where I really want to highlight. If you want to take a picture of it, I'm going to actually copy this and put it in the chat because these links are very, very helpful, and I don't want you guys to miss that. So I will explain each of them. Basically, there's so many tools out there to find scholarships. There are 3 links here, and they're kind of, as I talked about, there's local level, state level, and national. So the top one is actually a government tool to find scholarships nationally. There's a lot of different ones, and they'll give you exactly it's essay or it's this or that, and you can filter out. So that's a good one. The second one is a Minnesota-specific one. I think you have to sign in with a username and password, but I think almost every high school will give you a username and password for that, so tap into those resources. And then this one I have based on the high school I went to. So if I was still in high school, I would click on this link, or just you can search like Richfield High School scholarships and financial aid, and there will be a page for this. So this is what the Rosemount High School one looks like. And so this is all about financial aid. FAFSA is something you'll tap into, I'm sure. And then here's so many resources of how you can search for scholarships, paying for stuff. There's specific programs for people who are attending college in Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota. There's just so many resources that are initially hard to find, I guess, because there are so many, but I would suggest going to your school or your district specific page because they will give you the most information on that. And then also, as I said, doing it on being able to know specifically what your local ones are. What you can do is just search your high school scholarship winners. And so these will give you just different pages of, that's how I found the Warrior 196 one, where it's just for people in District 196. And so these, again, are your best chance. And they open usually I think February, March. So I think for seniors, it's kind of past the deadlines for some scholarships, definitely not all of them. But you can also Google that. And if you are a freshman, sophomore, junior, keeping these on your radar are just amazing. And you can put the Google Calendar due dates for if it's due in December, you can put that in today and you forget about it until November, and then you look and you can see. So those planning and steps ahead are super, super helpful. So I know this is about scholarships, but I just want to push a little bit about financial aid. My biggest advice is that you should fight for as much money as you can. I have learned that there's always more money available. Colleges will usually give you under of what their max they could give. And so always asking for more, advocating for yourself is huge. This is me on my first day of freshman year, baby me, in front of this big, ginormous castle, because Boston College's price tag is around $75,000 per year. And a lot of my friends pay that full. But I pay $10,000 a year. And that's because of scholarships, but mostly because of financial aid. I had a huge grant because of need-based, because of being the third out of 4 kids, of explaining my situation with my dad and that kind of stuff. But also just getting on the phone with my financial aid advisor. I cannot emphasize it enough, and I've told this to younger people who are now in college because they didn't get the financial aid package or amount they wanted, and then they kind of said, okay, I won't be able to go to this university if I don't get more money. And I really love Boston College. I love the arts. I love the sports culture. I love this and that and that. But I can't afford it. Is there any way there's any more money I can get? And usually there is. So I would say really check and try before you count yourself out. So that's just my little plug of there's more money. Don't give up right away. So that might have been a lot of information. I want to leave a little bit of time for questions, but I just want to say thank you. And I know that finances can be stressful. They're different for everyone. Every family handles them differently. And so I just want to provide a space where you know that you can dream big and know that you can make any college happen and make any major happen or any school happen. I'm doing a year of service this next year. I'm not making any money. And I never thought that would be able to happen, but through financial aid and saving, I'm able to both do a year of service and then work computer science after that. So I just urge you about that. But if we have about 5 more minutes, if there's any quick questions.
So how did you decide on your college that you want to go to?
Yeah. So as I said, I'm at Boston College. A lot of colleges I applied to, and I actually didn't get into the top couple of choices that I wanted, which was a little bit of a bummer, I think, at first, and made the transition hard as I started college because I didn't fully want to be here. I never visited before I came here, but I ended up choosing Boston College because of the liberal arts education. I didn't know fully what I wanted to do, and so be able to go to a school that has the core curriculum of like doing philosophy and theology and focusing on that first, and then being able to specialize in something, that is just something that's been really big to me, because when I was 17 I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but being able to have kind of the chance to explore other things and test the waters and know it's okay to switch multiple times is why I chose Boston College. So I cannot also emphasize how much I love it now. I think transitions are hard, but I have absolutely enjoyed my time here. I'm just distraught to leave, so that shows you how much I have enjoyed it. And then there's another question. For study abroad scholarship, did you apply for one through the college? If yes, how exactly? Yes, so this one was directly through the university. It was an internal program, it's called. So my financial aid through Boston College actually paid for I got the same amount of scholarships as I do like during a normal academic year. So it was actually like the same cost to be abroad, if not less, because I had that extra scholarship through the Venice International University. So I applied directly through that. It's something that they posted on their website and they made us aware of. So that was directly through the like abroad university, and it was just writing 2 essays and then being a part of like their like academic group that like planned a couple events. So there's definitely probably resources through abroad institutions. It was a little bit of a smaller one, so might not be for like every college, but yeah. And then I'll answer just one more question. What are some of the best scholarships in your opinion? I think the best scholarships are the ones that you can get locally, especially ones that are reoccurring. So as I said, the Minnesota Masonic Homes one is a $2,000 scholarship every year for 3 years. And that was just really big to be able to have that reoccurring amount. And also it's a local charity, Minnesota. So being able to just stay in touch with that, it's a really rewarding experience in both ways. And I think that just like really set me up to have a good chance to be from Minnesota and have the kind of the best chance that way to I think being able to screen of which ones you really do have a chance of receiving is important, so you don't waste all your time, because I know everyone is very busy and time is a valuable resource. So I would say choose which one you think, or choose a couple that you really think you have a good chance on, but also the more you apply to, the more chances you have. So that. All right, I think I am out of time, correct? Yes, we're right at 12:30. Thank you guys so much again. If you want to copy the links that I sent in the chat, also feel free to reach me at my LinkedIn or my email. Best of luck. You guys are amazing. Have have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Anna.